bluffing, I'm going to win about $10,000. But what I decided was actually I could do a sort of a testing bet, but I also felt like a bet that could save me money when I'm beat, but also make me money when he was bluffing. And what I decided to do was I bet $2,500. And if you look at this bet, and this is the kind of bet that does come up, if you look at this bet, I felt like if he had an ace-king or king-queen, he would sort of be handcuffed. He really can't afford to raise me here. There's too good a chance that I might have a hand like queen-10 or king-jack. I felt like if he had an ace-king or a king-queen, he would be pretty much forced to just call me. And so what I really wasn't looking for was for him to call. I thought that if he called, there'd be a reasonable chance that I was beat, but that my $2,500 bet would have actually saved me money. If I had checked and he had the ace-king or king-queen, I felt like he would bet more into this pot. So if he called me, I would have been satisfied that I saved money by only betting $2,500, but I really wasn't looking for a call. I thought I certainly wouldn't mind if he folded. There was $13,000 in the pot, and I'm only betting $2,500. I'd be very happy to pick up the pot. And certain that I had the best hand when he folded. I thought there was a very small chance, since I was betting so small, that maybe if he had a hand like ace-queen, he might actually call me, just not willing to give up a pot of that size for this small bet. So I actually thought there was a chance that I might make $2,500, even if he only had an ace-high. But actually what I was kind of hoping that he would do is raise me. And I had seen him make a play like this earlier in the day. And I felt like this was the kind of bet that might be inviting a raise. And I also decided that there was almost no chance that he could have a raising hand. And so I was almost baiting him to make a play that I thought almost for sure would indicate to me that he was bluffing. So I bet the $2,500, and in fact he did call and raise me $10,000. And I really didn't think too long. And I did call him. And I was very pleased to see that he did turn over, one of the hands that I really suspected he might have. He had ace-10, and I did catch him bluffing. This is a very rare situation. I don't know that I have seen such a pure situation where I really feel like a particular bet was correct in No Limit Hold'em. Usually there are arguments and reasons for making a wide variety of plays, but I actually really feel like this kind of bet, and situations like this do come up where you can bet that small amount and sort of prevent yourself from losing when you're beat, but also maybe encourage your opponent to bluff. Obviously, you're never going to play a hand that comes up just like this, but these are the things you need to be thinking about on the river when you're playing a no-limit hand. And you have so much information available to you. This is a great game. There's so many things that you can think about. And when you're playing a hand, sometimes it all comes together, and you can really make a really smart bet like the $2,500 bet on the river. Okay, we're now going to look at tournament play, and sort of a note of caution before we get into some specifics of tournament play. There is no substitute for playing good poker when you're playing in a poker tournament. The number one most important tournament skill is just playing well. If you play good no-limit hold'em in cash games or with your friends, and now you start playing a tournament, the better poker player is going to win the most poker tournaments. But there are some specific skills that you need to know about, and we're going to cover some of those. And one of the most important things to really pay attention to when you're playing in a no-limit hold'em poker tournament is the size of your stack. And we're first going to look at some situations where you're kind of short stacked, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about playing with a big stack. So let's first of all look at a situation where you're becoming a small stack. Let's say the blinds are 500 and 1,000. These are $500 chips. And your chips are now down to about 4,000. This is really the critical moment, about 4 or 5 times the big blind. If you fall below that number, then you really have almost no chance to protect your hand. So it's very important. The next round, the blinds are coming around. If you pay these blinds, the 500 in the small blind and the $1,000 big blind, if you pay those blinds and you don't pick up a hand and you fold, well, now you're down to here. And even if you put 2,500 in, you're at least going to get called by one player. Very often what might happen is 2 or 3 players are going to call and they're going to try and knock you out. So you're really in big trouble. So one of the things you need to do is on that round when you're about to go from like 5 to 4 to maybe 3 times the big blind, you're just going to have to find a hand and you're going to have to go with it. Find something like a king jack or a king 10, something that you might not play from early or middle position based on the normal pre-flop strategy that I discussed in the first tape, and just find some kind of decent hand that you're willing to go with and move all your chips into the pot. First of all, you have a chance that everyone's going to fold. They know that you're probably not on a pure bluff, and unless they have something kind of decent, they're not going to call you. So maybe you pick up the blinds, and now your chips are starting to grow, and maybe you can go from here. But you don't want to tighten up and become more conservative. Don't be scared. You already have a short stack. You don't have a really great chance of going on to win the tournament. So take advantage of the fact that your chips still matter. They haven't gotten too small, and you really need to try and build up your chips before they fall below a critical level. There's another concept I would like to talk about, and that is when you're playing in no-limit tournaments and you kind of have a medium to small stack. It's very important for you to sort of consider, well, let's say if I open the pot for like a normal 3 times raise, so it's 5 and 10, and if you were to put in 3, that would only leave you with 3,000 more. Well, if you're in a situation where no matter what hand you raised with, if someone raised behind you, you would have to call for the last 3. Of course, if you were to put in 3 and now someone raises, puts in 10,000 behind you, and now everyone folds, well, there's going to be your 3, you've got 3 more, so he's going to put 6 in the pot. So that's 6 and 3 is 9, 10. You have 10,500 in the pot, and you only have 3,000 to call. Really, there's no hand that you would open the pot with that you would fold. So since there's no hand that you would fold, you should put all your chips in the pot. And this is just a general rule that I like to use in no-limit hold'em tournaments, and that is, if I'm not folding, I want to put the chips in the pot. Even if I have a very strong hand, every time you get your chips all in and you're called, that's a chance for you to go broke. And I don't think you should be looking to get your chips all in, even if you think you have the best hand. Much more important, move all your chips in the pot, hope everyone folds, pick up the blinds, add these to your stack, and maybe your chips start growing without you ever going all in. So again, anytime you're considering a bet, whether it's before the flop, on 4th Street, if you're in a situation where you are so pot committed that you don't have a whole lot of chips left over, if you were to make a normal pot size bet, I think it's better to just move all in and make it very hard on your opponents to call. Now I would like to discuss big stack play. And these blue chips here are $5,000 chips. I'm going to add 40,000 to your stack. So now you have a good 48, 49,000 in chips here. And we're only playing 500 and 1,000 blinds. So in a poker tournament, once we got to this level, if you were sitting with about 40 to 50,000 in chips, you would definitely be one of the big stacks at the tournament. And it's very important that if you have a big stack, you need to start to attack. You're up against a lot of small stacks. They're usually playing timidly. I really don't want you to play your small stacks timidly, but it's very hard not to. It's a natural tendency, and I think you can really start bullying a table with a big stack. You don't want to be thinking, oh, I have all these chips. If I play really tight and I ante off, I can get down to the final table. Or if you're already at the final table, well, I have a lot of chips, and if I play really tight and I ante off, I can guarantee that I finish in the top 3. It's that kind of thinking that is going to prevent you from winning no-limit hold'em tournaments. You really need to take your big stack. You need to take advantage of it. Well, I'd like to offer one note of caution when you're playing a big stack and trying to bully the small stacks, and that is you need to pay very close attention to the size of the smaller stacks around the table. And once stacks have fallen below a certain critical level, let's say, for instance, the big blind was down to like his last 2,500 and $1,000 was in the pot, he's pretty well pot committed. There are very few hands here that he's going to fold. So if you pick up a hand like 8-7 suited, which is the kind of hand that you might bully the smaller stacks with, if you notice that the big blind or the small blind is pot committed, you're just going to have to throw that 8 high away. You're going to have to take that hand off, in terms of trying to bully the table. But if your opponent has something more like this, where he has like 5,000 more to call, this is a fine opportunity. Let's say you're the button and everyone folds to you. You pick up an 8-6 or something. I think you can just